Okay, for this final installment of Around the House and practices you can do at home, I've got one for in your bed. So you can do this in the morning before you crawl out of bed or at night before you crawl into bed. And the only thing you're going to need is your bed and the pillows that are on your bed. So you're going to set yourself up in a side lying position. One hand just along the side and the other hand out at shoulder height, your head supported, and then what we're simply going to do is some depression and elevation of the shoulder blade. And you could bring your other hand along your side so that you can feel some engagement and drawing down of the shoulder blade and then bringing it up. Okay, and then we're going to move the shoulder blade into some protraction and some retraction. Protraction and retraction. So the shoulder blade slides wide away from the spine and then slides towards the spine. Okay, and then bring the hand along the side again, and we're simply going to move into some depression, retraction, elevation, protraction. Depression, retraction, elevation, protraction. Depression, retraction, elevation, protraction. So you want to just kind of notice the rhythm at which the shoulder blade and the arm are moving relative to one another. So ideally we want the shoulder blade to be leading and there'll be some movement of the arm. But just notice if there's like a lot of having to move the arm to get your shoulder blade to move. And if it is, just see if you can quiet the arm and start to initiate a little bit more from the shoulder blade. Okay, so then we're going to change direction of those circles. So we're going to elevate, retract, depress, protract, elevate, retract, depress, protract, elevate. Good, and then just let that be. Okay, from here we're going to bring the hand just onto the side of the head. Bring the elbow forward, and we're going to start to just make some circles with the elbow. And as you're making the circles, you're going to start to let your eyes or your gaze follow the elbow. And then we're going to change direction. Okay, so we're going to draw the knees up towards the belly. Okay, a thing I like to do for the legs while in bed is keeping the thighs together and simply lifting the foot. And this creates some internal rotation for that top femur. Then what I might play with is keeping both feet together and lifting both feet. And then that's creating some external rotation for the bottom leg, but some internal rotation for the top leg. And when you've got the blankets on, you've got extra load. Okay, so I might play with this with the feet flexed, and I might play with this with the toes pointed. Okay. Then what I also like to play with is I bring a hand onto the pelvis, and I think about moving the top half of my pelvis away so the bottom half of the pelvis kind of moves towards me, so I'm nice and long through here. And then I'll keep the feet together and open up that top leg. And I think about rotating, or the knee and the thigh kind of drawing a quarter or a semicircle on the ceiling. So if along the front of my thigh I had crayons all sticking out, they would do this quarter or half arc. And the bottom outer hip is working to keep the pelvis quiet, and the pelvis is staying quiet here. I'm just peeling it open and closed. So those are a couple of things that I like to do in bed to wake up the lower body. So we'll be lengthening the low back, curling up into a bit of a fetal position. You're going to take your bottom arm and hold on to your knees. That hand's going to come up next to the head, and you're going to twist. So I'm going to move these pillows so I've got a bit more space here. So we're really isolating the thoracic spine from the lumbar spine, and when we draw into this kind of fetal position, we can get some nice rotation through that thoracic spine without coming into lumbar extension, which for a lot of us can be where we kind of go to. I'm going to move down my bed here a little bit so I'm off the pillows. There we go. And then I'm just going to take a few breaths here. Draw myself back onto my side, and then one more time I'm going to take that twist. I might take that top leg, stretch it out. I'm going to play a little bit with that top leg, coming into some external rotation. I feel that starts to pull my hip kind of away from my shoulder, and then drawing into some internal rotation. I feel the pelvis comes back towards the rib cage. So I might feel some stretching bits either along my waist or into my buttock and my glutes here. Okay, and then I'm going to come back up. I'm going to come onto the other side and work that same sequence. Just starting with some depression and elevation of that shoulder blade. Moving into some protraction and retraction. Just noticing where the blade can move and the rib cage and spine can stay quiet. Okay, and then I'm going to move into some of those shoulder blade circles. So depression, protraction, elevation, retraction. Again, on this side, just kind of notice the degree to which the shoulder blade can lead and the arm follows, and kind of the rhythm between the arm and the shoulder blade, and then change directions. I'm going to bring the hand onto the head and just starting to do some circles with that elbow. Letting the gaze follow. And then changing direction of those circles. My hair is going to be a mess when I get out of bed. I don't move around this much in my sleep. Okay, and then finishing off. So now we're going to move into the lower body portion. So again, here, just playing with that top leg and internally rotating it. I just think about lifting up my foot or my lower leg and trying to bring it towards the pillows, and that creates this internal rotation. Kind of put a hand on my pelvis, and I feel, how much is my pelvis moving with that movement. See if I can differentiate, move the leg without much pelvis. And then playing with trying to bring both feet and lower legs towards the head. And again, if I've got the blankets on me, like I did this morning, that adds some extra load to this. So your lateral inner and outer hips will feel it. And then just bringing a hand onto the pelvis. Again, I think of arcing and opening up that top leg. Again, if there was crayons all along the front of this thigh, they'd be making a quarter or a half moon arc. And I invite you to kind of play with, like I've got my feet kind of further out from my bum, but bringing them so they're more underneath my tailbone. That might change the ability or where you feel engagement happen, your ability to have the pelvis be quiet. So don't be afraid to explore some different orientations of where you put those legs, okay? And you do the movement, because the position of where the legs are is going to change the tissues that you load. Awesome. He's up into the belly, and then using the bottom hand just to hold that knee. And I'm going to open up here. My hand could be behind my head. So really isolating, getting some length through that lumbar spine, and then nurturing some rotation of that thoracic spine here. Again, I could take the leg out long if I wanted to. And then because we've come into the fetal position, we've kind of brought the top of the pelvis towards the bottom ribs, so I could play with externally rotating that top leg and feel how that starts to draw the pelvis away from the bottom ribs once I get to a certain amount of external rotation. And then I could draw it into some more internal rotation, feel how that brings the two together. I could just hang out here and breathe with the leg bent or the leg long. And then coming into the fetal position again, I'm going to twist one more time. Taking a few final breaths here and then rolling onto my side. So just as simple as that, just getting some movement of the shoulders and of the spine, and then at the end there we got a little bit of movement of the legs and the pelvis in on it. So just a couple of moves you can do in bed before your feet even hit the floor in the morning. Thanks for joining me and have a really, really great day. Bye for now.